Good evening, wonderful people. This is Chris for the Informed Stoner, and today is Tuesday, the 21st of February, 2023, and this is our evening news segment. For today's evening news segment, we have a story from news.yahoo.com. The International Atomic Energy Agency is trying to clarify how Iran accumulated uranium enriched to 84% purity, the highest level found by inspectors in the country to date, and a concentration just 6% below what's needed for a weapon. Okay, so 84%, they need 90% for a weapon. That's getting pretty close if true. Iran says its decade-long atomic program is for peaceful purposes, but Western powers and Israel have accused it of working toward a nuclear bomb. Well, if they're getting close to 90% uranium, maybe they are. Building a bomb would require further technical steps, which have so far not been detected by the IAEA, and a political decision to go ahead. The development was reported by Bloomberg on Sunday, citing two senior diplomats. Iran had previously told the IAEA that the centrifuges were configured to enrich uranium at 60% level of purity. Okay, well, if their centrifuges are going to 60%, then why are they claiming 84%? U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said he had seen the report and is in close contact with the IAEA and European countries about the matter, adding he'll have more to say when he has more information, according to comments made from reports in the Turkish capital Ankara on Monday. The development comes as Iran is increasingly isolated from the West. Nuclear talks with powers are suspended and regional tensions have sharpened. Israel has blamed Iran for the February 10th attack on an oil tanker in the Arabian Sea, and Iran has denied. It came about a fortnight after a drone strike on a weapons depot near Iran's city of Isfahan. Sorry, I probably butchered that. And Tehran blamed on Israel, the latest incident in a string of suspected tit-for-tat attacks. Well, that wouldn't really be surprising. That kind of stuff goes on quite a bit. Still doesn't mean we want more nukes everywhere. Iran has also faced widespread condemnation for its deadly crackdown on major protests, and the U.S. and European Union have tightened sanctions on Iran over its military support of the Russian war on Ukraine. Inspectors need to determine whether Iran intentionally produced the material or whether the concentration was an unintended accumulation within the network of pipes connected to the hundreds of fast-spinning centrifuges used to separate the isotopes. It's the second time this month the monitors have detected suspicious enrichment-related activities. Okay, well, if it's, the second time this month and they're noticing these activities, is it a pretty easy guess to say that they're doing it, or else they don't have very good policies when it comes to their centrifuges? In an interview on January 23rd, the U.S. envoy for Iran, Robert Malley, said Tehran was only a handful of weeks away from having enough weapons-grade uranium, but taking the further step of developing an actual weapon is a different matter. And so far, the U.S. has no evidence of it. Okay, so they've got the uranium, but we don't know they're actually making weapons. What else they're going to do with that high and enriched uranium, I don't know, but maybe they've got crazy plans we don't know about. Iran's foreign ministry spokesman said the claims show the United Nations Atomic Energy Agency is distancing itself from its professional conduct, and that Iran was committed to its agreements with the body and the terms of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Nasir Kanai told reporters on Monday that plans are still afoot to organize a forthcoming visit to Tehran by IAEA's Director General Rafael Maraghrossi. On Sunday, an Iranian nuclear official denied Iran had enriched uranium beyond 60% purity so far and dismissed the development as a smear and a distortion of facts. Apologies, pardon me. The existence of uranium particles above 60% does not mean the same thing as enrichment above 60%. Okay, so they're saying that just because some particles are above 60 doesn't mean they're actually making that. Well, I mean, maybe. A spokesman for the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran told the state-run Islamic Republic news agency. The IAEA responded on Sunday and said it's discussing with Iran the results of the agency's recent verification activities and will forward its board of directors of the appropriate according to a tweet citing Grossi. The IAEA is preparing in a quarterly Iran safeguards report ahead of March 6th, Board of Governors meeting in Vienna, where the Persian Gulf nations' nuclear work will figure prominently on the agenda. Iran has submitted the required forms declaring its intention to raise uranium enrichment levels at two facilities near the towns of Natanz and Fordo, according to one diplomat. Even if the dedicated material is mistakenly accumulated because of technical difficulties in operating the centrifuge cascades, something that has happened before, it is underscored that the dangers of Iran's decision to produce highly enriched uranium, the other diplomat said. The IAEA has repeatedly said levels that are just 60% are technically indistinguishable from the level needed for a nuclear weapon. Most nuclear power reactors use material enriched to 5% purity. Okay, so if they only need 5% purity to make nuclear reactors and everything else, why are you needing 60 plus? I mean, that kind of says they're going towards weapons? I don't know. A nuclear deal between Iran and the world's powers unraveled after then-President Donald Trump withdrew the U.S. in 2018 and reimposed sanctions. In response, Iranian officials expanded the country's nuclear program. Tehran denies it's seeking to build atomic warheads, but concerns it might develop the technology to do so, propelled years of diplomacy that led to the deal with the world powers. Grossi claimed the atomic deal was an empty shell last month and said Iran has sufficient nuclear material for several weapons, should it make the political decision to move forward. Well, that in itself is kind of a scary story. I mean, we always know, we all hear that the different stories in Iran and the Middle East and how volatile the whole area is. How bad it would be if they got nuclear weapons. Is that true? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I can't say. Just the guy on the internet, right? But let's just hope that if they are making weapons, it's purely defensive and they're not going to use them as a first strike option or anything of that nature, because that's just scary and we don't want to see all that. But anyways, that leads us into our next story tonight. This is from AP News. This is today. Russia's President Vladimir Putin declared Tuesday that Moscow was suspending its participation in the New START treaty, the last remaining nuclear arms control pact with the United States, sharply upping the ante amid tensions with Washington over the fighting in Ukraine. Speaking in his State of the Nation address, Putin also said that Russia should stand ready to resume nuclear weapons tests if the U.S. does so, a move that would end a global ban on nuclear weapons tests in place since the Cold War. Explaining his decision to suspend Russia's obligations under the 2010 New START treaty, Putin accused the U.S. and its NATO allies of openly declaring the goal of Russia's defeat in Ukraine. Well, yeah, I think that is the goal, is to get Russia out of Ukraine, which would be Russia's defeat in the Ukraine. I mean, I don't think that's a secret. They want to inflict a strategic defeat on us and try to get our nuclear facilities at the same time. Maybe could be hyperbolic. I mean, but yeah, who knows? He said, declaring his decision to suspend Russia's participation in the treaty. In this context, I have to declare today that Russia is suspending its participation in the Treaty on Strategic Offensive Arms. New START's official name is the Treaty between the United States of America and the Russian Federation. Okay, the United States of America and the Russian Federation. We'll talk more about this in a minute. On the measures for the further reduction and limitation of strategic offensive arms. Hours after Putin's address, the Russian Foreign Ministry said it would respect the caps on nuclear weapons under the Nuclear Arms Control Treaty with the U.S., even though Putin suspends the country's participation in the pact. Russia will also Also, will continue to exchange information about test launches of ballistic missiles per earlier agreements with the United States, the Foreign Ministry said. The treaty envisions caps on the number of nuclear weapons and the broad inspection of nuclear sites. Putin said that such inspections don't make sense after the US and its allies declared the goal of dealing a Russian military defeat in Ukraine. So I guess what he's trying to say here is that because we have said that we don't want him to take over Ukraine, they think that we're going to give all this information to Ukraine to bomb the nuclear sites. I mean, bit paranoid, but I mean, I could also kind of see where it's coming from, but probably more on paranoia. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken deplored Putin's move as deeply unfortunate and irresponsible, noting that we'll be watching carefully to see what Russia does next. He said that, well, of course, we'll make sure that in any event we are postured appropriately for the security of our own country and that of our allies, but emphasized that we remain ready to talk about strategic arm limitations in any time with Russia, irrespective of anything else going on in the world and in our relationship. Which, I mean, I hope that's true, and I hope we would talk to any power out there about nuclear weapons and other kinds of arms, no matter what the relationship at the time is. That's always something that needs to be dealt with. I think it's a matter that we continue to act responsibly in this area, Blinken told reporters on a visit to Greece. It's also something the rest of the world expects of us. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg also voiced regret about Putin's move, saying that with today's decision on New START, full arms control architecture has been dismantled. I strongly encourage Russia to reconsider its decision and respect existing agreements, he told reporters. Putin argued that while the U.S. has pushed for the resumption of inspections on Russian nuclear facilities under the treaty, NATO allies had helped Ukraine mount drone attacks on Russian air base hosting nuclear-capable strategic bombers. Was that a coincidence? I mean, maybe. They were doing a counterstrike. You had strategic bombers there. I mean, the Russian military said that it shot down the Soviet-built drones and struck 2 bomber bases deep inside Russia in December, but acknowledged that several servicemen were killed by debris. That also damaged some aircraft. Putin on Tuesday mocked NATO's statement, urging Russia to allow the resumption of the U.S. inspections of Russian nuclear weapons sites as some kind of theater of absurd. The drones used for it were equipped and modernized with NATO's expert assistance, Putin said. And now they want to inspect our defense facilities? In the condition of today's confrontation, it sounds like sheer nonsense. On a defensive stance, I can kind of see where that's coming from. But, I mean, this is a nuclear treaty that we had before all this nonsense. So, you know, kind of makes all treaties kind of null and void with them. That you go back on your word and people aren't going to trust you, right? He said that a week ago he signed an order to deploy new land-based strategic missiles and asked, are they also going to poke their noses there? Well, no, because those aren't part of the treaty. Now, if they're nuclear strategic missiles, then yes. The Russian leader also noted that NATO's statement on the New START raises the issues of nuclear weapons of Britain and France that are part of the Allies' nuclear capability, but aren't included in the U.S.-Russian pact. Now, see, that's what I was talking about earlier. It was a U.S.-Russian pact. The Russian Federation in the United States of America. Nowhere does it say NATO. Nowhere does it say Britain or France. If they want treaties with them, they need to make treaties with them. They are also aimed against us. They are aimed against Russia, he said. Before we return to discussing the treaty, we need to understand what the aspirations of NATO members, Britain and France, and how we take into account their strategic arsenals that are part of the alliance's combined strike potential. Again, not part of the treaty. Putin emphasized that Russia is suspecting its involvement in New START and not entirely withdrawing from suspending its involvement and not entirely withdrawing. The New START treaty signed in 2010 by President Barack Obama and Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, apologies, butchered that, limits each country on no more than 1,550 deployed nuclear warheads. and 700 deployed missiles and bombers. The agreement envisions sweeping on-site inspections to verify compliance. Just days before the treaty was due to expire in February of 2021, Russia and the United States agreed to extend it for another 5 years. See, there you go, right there. That was Putin in office. He agreed to extend it. Russia and the U.S. have suspended mutual inspections under the New START since the start of the pandemic. But Moscow last fall refused to allow their resumption, raising uncertainty about the pact's future. Russia also postponed a planned round of Russia also indefinitely postponed a planned round of consultations under the treaty. The United States Department has said that Russia's refusal to allow the inspections prevents the United States from exercising important rights under the treaty and threatens the viability of the U.S.-Russia nuclear arms control. It noted that nothing prevents Russia's inspectors from conducting inspections of U.S. facilities. Putin on Tuesday challenged U.S. assertions, alleging that Washington has rejected some of Russia's requests to visit two specific U.S. facilities. We aren't allowed to conduct full-fledged inspections under the treaty, he said. We can't really check anything on their side. He alleged that the U.S. was working on nuclear weapons, and some of the U.S. were pondering plans to resume nuclear tests banned under the global test ban that took effect at the end of the Cold War. In this situation, Rosatom, Russia's state nuclear corporation, and the Defense Ministry must ensure readiness of Russian nuclear weapons tests. We naturally won't be the first to do it, but if the U.S. conducts tests, we also will do it. No one should have dangerous illusions that the global strategic parity could be destroyed. So, I don't know. That's kind of silly to say. If they do it, we'll do it, but we're not going to do it first. That's kind of a setup. He's just like, we're going to do what we want, but for now, we're just going to say that we're going to play along. I don't know. It's a bunch of bullcrap. And let's just hope that none of this nuclear anything sparks off. Now, my main reason for these two stories is, and this is pure speculation on my part, dude on the internet, no real facts here, but I wonder if Iran's uranium enrichment has anything to do with Russia's nuclear agenda. And if, Iran helping end the war with Ukraine with drones and ammunitions or whatever else they may be giving, maybe they got some nuclear technology back, little hints here and there, a little help there. I don't know. Pure speculation, but I wouldn't put it past them. Well, this was your Tuesday evening news segment. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe and join us Monday through Friday for news, culture, and entertainment for the Informed Stoner. Thank you and have a great evening.